Welcome to Eric Unfiltered. I am your host, Eric Dickinson, where I am always caffeinated, medicated, and never regulated. Here I discuss news, politics, relationships, and a whole lot more. I'm an unfiltered Gen Xer from Connecticut. Do you like inappropriate jokes, naughty memes, and late night drunken posts on social media? If you do, then give me a follow on X at Eric Not Sorry or on Facebook and Truth Social at Eric Unfiltered Podcast. I also post there when new episodes are released. Thank you for checking me out. Now let's get on with the show. Welcome back. How's everybody doing? I hope you are doing well. Geez, I don't even know which story to start with today. Normally you start with the big one. Well, which big one? There's been a few. I think I will start a little soft. I'll start with a big story, but it's here closer to home. We're going to talk about the problem with the water in Waterbury. A major water main break occurred on Thomaston Avenue in Waterbury on Friday, late Friday, December 12th, affecting the city's water supply and parts of neighboring towns like Wolcott and Waterbury. The cause was due to an earlier failure of a smaller 10 to 12-inch water line, which undermined a critical 42-inch or 36-inch in some reports. I did a search, so this is AI search. So, grain of salt. But it undermined the critical transmission main, leading to an explosive rupture that launched pavement and caused significant damage. Yeah, the video coverage, it was ugly. The break left approximately 100,000 residents largely without water pressure over the weekend, with about 60% of the city still affected into Monday and Tuesday, which was December 15th and 16th. They are still currently working on it. City's response, of course, they're jumping all over it. Got to get it fixed, right? They also were handing out bottled water, of course, until supplies ran out. They did get more in, but you know how that goes. And they also have a boil water thing, warning, caution out there right now. So Waterbury residents, even if your water is turned back on, don't drink it. Not until, the experts and the authorities tell you it's okay to do so. But I am sure they will tell you if your water turns on, boil it before you use it. But don't take my word for it. Listen to your local authorities. Please do not take. I'm just a moron with a microphone, so don't take my word on it. I'm sure once your water is on, they'll tell you to boil it first, or they'll just outright tell you not to drink it. But yeah, 100,000 people without water? Damn, that's a lot of people. That is a lot of people to not have water. No showers, no morning coffee, dude. No flushing your toilet. That's no drinking of of water at least. That's bad. That's a big problem. I'm really hoping that hopefully by the end of this coming weekend, before Christmas, I'm sure Waterbury will have that all taken care of. But yeah, I was thinking about those people the other day. I saw the video footage and it looked almost like a fire hydrant coming out of the street. It was bad. It was a lot. Oh, I do not envy those people and those workers. Some of the conditions those workers were working under. What was it? Was it Sunday night into Monday? It was frigid this week. One morning I remember it was like 8 or something like that. And yeah, they were out there. They're out there working in this stuff to help get that water main fixed. So shout out to all of those people working diligently to get it all back up and running. All right. Let's get on to the next, shall we? Okay, now I know some of you may be saying, why did you start with the Waterbury story? There are two very large, very significant stories that happened. I'm sure somebody else will say, there's 3 or 4, but yes, you're right. You're right. I should have led with this next story, but honestly, I didn't want to because the next 2 stories suck. I'm sure all of you have heard about it, But obviously, I'm going to read a synopsis about it and talk about it because that's just kind of my thing. But yeah, normally you want to always start with the big story, but the next two are just so dang depressing. I was like, you know what? Not yet. But I got to get into it. Unfortunately, on December 13th, 2025, around 4 o'clock Eastern PM, a lone gunman opened fire inside room 166 of the Barris and Holly building at Brown University's campus in Providence, Rhode Island. The room was hosting a review session for an introductory economics final exam during the university's fall semester exam week. The attack killed 2 Brown University students. I'm going to do my best. I apologize. Muhammad Aziz Umarzokov, a first-year international student from Uzbekistan, and Ella Cook, a sophomore vice president sophomore and vice president of the Brown College Republicans. Unfortunately, they died. That is freaking college students, dude. The shooting also wounded 9 others. The 11 victims, obviously were all students. A 9mm handgun was used based on casings recovered at the scene. The shooter is still at large. That is one thing I'm not the only one kind of astonished by that. The shooter is still at large. On this search, the shooter is described as a male dressed in black, clothing with a face covering. He fled the building on the Hope Street side. No weapon was recovered. No weapon was recovered inside, and the gunman apparently walked away from the campus without further incident. And there are some video clips. They initially arrested someone. I don't have their name, and I wouldn't say it anyways because they have not been charged and they have been released. So obviously it was, just a person for questioning, and they moved on. So right now the POS is still at large. There is no known motive at this time. There is a lot of speculation. Oh, you bet there is. Because if you noticed, I mentioned that the young lady that unfortunately died was the vice president of, a Republican group at the college. And so if you go on the internet, you can only imagine. You can imagine there's people, this is a targeted attack. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and play the gossip game. I don't know. Was it maybe? I don't know. They haven't arrested anybody. They don't know who did this, unfortunately. What astonishes me is today's day and age, we all have a phone. When something bad happens, when people's lives are at stake, like in a car accident, the first thing people think of doing is pulling out their phone to record it. Nobody recorded any of this. And where were the cameras on campus? I know there are. I'm not sitting here playing those weird. I'm not playing a game here. I know there's cameras on campus. Somebody asked the question, and I guess the response was the cameras were only outside, and then they changed it up, and the cameras were only inside. Okay, there seems to be some confusion and some stuff going on. Now, granted, I get it. I do not expect anybody at a university or anywhere to immediately know what to do during this kind of situation. I mean, I'm sure they have policy. I'm sure. But do you really practice it? No, because you hope it doesn't happen. But I don't know. They don't have anybody. And then there is some other weird-ish going on regarding Brown University. And on the internet, because again, it's the internet. But apparently, there has been an individual that, has digitally being erased, apparently, by the university. Again, weird. Just weird stuff. I've heard some prominent people on, their podcasts talk about it. And I'm like, that is just weird. University is, again, I don't know. We don't know who did this. Are they up to doing nefarious stuff? I doubt it. It's to me, it's all internet rumor, gossip, garbage. It's nonsense. Was this targeted? Perhaps. Perhaps an individual made advancements towards someone in that room and was shot down and they snapped. Perhaps it was politically motivated. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it was just somebody that just snapped. Whoever it is, I hope they catch them soon and they pay the piper. Because unfortunately, there's obviously two families out there that will have one less plate at the table this year during the holidays, whatever they celebrated. And the rest of them, I mean, everybody there is obviously affected and scarred for life. And I'm not even going to get into the political sides of who is talking about what, because you already know what the political sides are doing. One side's pointing at guns, the other side's pointing at it's if there was other people. Okay, I'm not going to even go down there. You guys know. I've talked about it before. You've heard it all before. I kind of just want to focus on those two young lives that are gone because of some savage piece of garbage for whatever reason. Whether they just snapped or was a crime of passion, who knows? Hopefully we find out soon. The fact that this person is still at large and nobody knows anything. I'm not even blaming law enforcement. I'm not even pointing at law enforcement. I mean, you could, but okay, you go by leads. Nobody knows anything. Like, this individual does not have any friends that they didn't, like, make any kind of whispers to or act weird near. So, like, somebody didn't go, Jeffrey seems off today. I don't know. Bob seems a little quieter than usual. Nobody has noticed any. I don't know, man. I don't know. Somebody out there knows something, that's for sure. And hopefully they come forward and this piece of crap gets caught. And like I said, he pays the piper. Unbelievable. I feel so bad, man. Where I work, I've actually worked on stuff that is currently at Brown University. When I saw the chyron on the screen, I was like, oh no. I've worked on stuff that's there. It was just weird, and that's what caught my eye, and then I saw what was unfolding. I'm like, this is just... And then when I heard that the bastard got away, I hope they catch him. Rest in peace, young souls. On to the next. As if that story wasn't depressing enough, the next one is equally as depressing. On December 14th, 2025, a mass shooting occurred at Archer Beach beside Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia, during a Hanukkah celebration attended by approximately 1,000 people. Two gunmen, identified as 50-year-old piece of garbage and his 24-year-old turd son, opened fire on the crowd from a footbridge using multiple firearms. I'm going to put a pin right there. I know some of you are going, wait, firearms? Australia? Yes. Common misconception. You can own firearms in Australia. It is extremely, extremely difficult, apparently, to obtain firearms. They have very, very strict rules. But you can, but good luck. You honestly got a better shot of getting a pistol permit in New York City. New York City! Anybody out there get that reference? All right, back to the serious stuff. I'm sorry, I apologize. The attack killed 15 people. That's as of, I'm reading now. Hopefully that number does not go up. Including a 10-year-old girl named Matilda, Rabbi Eli Schlanger, and this kills me, and a Holocaust survivor. Someone who survived the Holocaust. Because of his religion, he is killed for it anyway. He died protecting his wife. This man survived the Holocaust. Dozens more injured and over 20 remain hospitalized as of December 17th. Authorities quickly declared it a terrorist attack, with preliminary evidence indicating it was inspired by ISIS and targeted the Jewish community, an anti-Semitic attack. Wow, that's a shock. Shocker there. Yes, because it's a Hanukkah celebration. You think with all the anti-Semitism going on in the planet right now, yes, this is kind of obvious it was a targeted attack. The other dumb thing that kind of got under my craw was after this happened, one of the first things the Australian government, I don't know which schmuck it was, and I don't care. One of the first things this schmuck comes out and says, we need stricter gun control. As if Australia's gun laws aren't strict enough. This individual had several firearms in a country where owning a firearm, you practically have to light your hair on fire and jump into gasoline in order to legally obtain one. Obviously, I'm being facetious. This individual owned several firearms legally in a country that is uber strict on gun laws. And one of their first knee-jerk reaction, the bodies are still warm and they want more gun control. No, sir, you don't. You need to control, I don't know what you can control, because these individuals were driven to do this by ideology. Whether they used rifles and shotguns, or a handgun, a tank, a bomber, or a chainsaw, they were driven by ideology. You can't outlaw that. You can't. You can't outlaw what someone thinks. As I've said on my podcast before, I don't care. I'm not the thought police. I'm not going to tell you who you should or shouldn't like. I don't care if you hate people. I don't. It's what you do with it. There's people in this world I really don't like downright hate. But if I'm in the same room with them, I can be civil because I'm an adult. I don't want to bash them in the head with the leg of a chair. No, I could talk about the weather until we go our separate ways. But that's how I was raised. That's how I'm wired. There's other people out in the world that aren't wired like that. And I'm not alone. Many of you, I'm sure, are wired correctly, but there's some that aren't. You can't outlaw that. How are you going to ban that? How is making guns more stricter than strict going to stop this? How? You can't. It's a flippin' tragedy that two parasites driven by hatred based on religion, because yes, I did not name these people, but they are of Muslim, again, tied to ISIS. You made the connection, I am sure. You can't, and that, again, as I've heard on the podcast circuits that I listen to, that does not mean every person that reads the Quran and prays 6 times a day is a person that hates somebody who's Jewish or is going to go and is willing to commit something like this. No, absolutely not. There are podcasts I've heard where, of course, people are freaking out and pointing fingers at religions, and I'm not going to do that. Because there's good and bad in every religion. There's good and bad in every group, whether it's, I've been down that road before too. You guys are smart. There's good people in every group, every demographic, and there's bad people. There's good and bad everywhere. It's just unfortunate. These two individuals were driven based on religion and hatred for another religion. And they clearly could not just be civil. They had to choose murder. And effing terrible. It's disgusting. I think that's one of the main reasons why I'm personally not a big religious fan or person. I don't care if you are. That's great. Hopefully you don't do crazy shit like this. Because when I see stuff like this, I can't me personally, I can't wrap my head around it. I've had people that are religious sit down and try to talk to me about it, and I understand their angle. I do. I genuinely do. I understand where they're coming from, but at the same time, I can't wrap my head around it. To hate somebody based upon, I can't. I can't. I personally can't. Obviously there are people that do, and there are people that celebrate what happened. Another shame. Another shame. Tragic. My heart goes out to all of them. I really do. It really does. I do wish them a happy Hanukkah, but we know that's not the case. All right, on to the next sad story. All right. Sorry about all of the depressing stuff. This next story is sad. It is, but hopefully at the end of it I can bring a little more happiness, a little more smiles. So unfortunately, this past week, Rob Reiner passed. He didn't exactly just pass. Rob Reiner and his wife, unfortunately, were murdered this past week, and his son has been arrested and charged for their murders. Some details have been released that they have been allegedly stabbed to death. I guess Rob's daughter lived across the street or down the road, whatever, and discovered them. That poor woman will never be the same. It's terrible. Now, Rob Reiner, he was an actor, director, and all that. He was also, if you're not familiar, very outspoken politically. Really did not like Donald Trump. He's a big-time lefty. I disagreed with Rob Reiner on a lot of things. I did not have a lot of good things to call him because of his political views. But that aside, him and I a lot of people, again, through the podcast circuits that I listen to, say they say the same thing. Like, yes, we disagree with him a lot, but apparently he was a really good dude. Like, a real good dude. Friendly, helpful, kind. I don't know. This is going based off things I've heard. So, like James Woods, an actor. He was friends with Rob. James is a conservative. Loves Trump. Voted for him, right? Still was friends with him. Despite all that, which is kind of rare nowadays. But in spite of my opinions of Rob's political opinions, he was a genius at making movies. And so, tragically, he is no longer among us. Epically tragic the way he was taken from us. But he leaves behind an epic, and I mean epic, list of movies that if you have not seen them, you need to. Some of them I have seen and I'm kind of meh, but I get it. So, sad part up front, Rob Reiner and his wife, unfortunately, murdered. But some of the movies here hopefully brings a smile to your face. I have heard this movie mentioned at least a dozen times in the last 2 days. The Princess Bride. If you have not seen The Princess Bride, it's a classic from 1987. Some of his other amazing movies: A Few Good Men, Misery. God, that was so good. This is Spinal Tap. Stand By Me. Dude, I love Stand By Me. That movie is, I still love that. I still love it to this day. When Harry Met Sally. Great movie. Oh, fun note. If you didn't know, on that iconic scene from When Harry Met Sally, where Meg Ryan fakes her big O. And the older lady says that famous line, "I'll have what she's having." That was Rob Reiner's mom. Fun fact. Yeah, look it up. I heard it on the radio, so if it's wrong. But yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. Let's see, The Bucket List. Another great movie. That movie was so funny. That was what, Jack Nicholson and Morgan Freeman? Oh, y'all got to see it. The Sure Thing, The American President, The Ghosts of Mississippi. That was awesome. The Story of Us, Being Charlie. Yeah, he left some amazing, amazing movies. So yeah, if you are unfamiliar with Rob Reiner, or even if you know who he is and you hated him because of his political views, take a moment and watch some of those movies this weekend, or at least one of them, especially The Princess Bride, because that movie was just too funny. It was great. I love that. Oh, and one last thing about Rob Reiner, specifically regarding politics. A lot of people jumped on the bandwagon after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Well, conservatives, listen. Rob Reiner was not one of them. In an interview, let's see here, I looked this up. He did an interview with Piers Morgan after that, and when discussing the assassination, he said it was absolute horror. This is a quote from Rob Reiner. "I don't care what your political beliefs are. That's not acceptable. That's not a solution to solving problems. That should never happen to anybody." True statement. Very true statement, Mr. Reiner. Very true statement. So we all may disagree politically on stuff, but Rob Reiner, okay, his heart was in the right place, and clearly. You know, he did not jump on the bandwagon like so many others did. So, tragic loss. Great movies. And All in the Family is still my favorite sitcom. I love that show. All right, enough babbling. Thank you for tuning in. If you like this episode, go to like, share, tell all your friends. You know, all the normal stuff. And if you celebrate Hanukkah, happy Hanukkah to you. And I'm sure I will have another episode up real soon. Until next time, keep being you.